This particular reading is something I wrote a while ago called North Carolina, and I hope you like it. Dark and silent late last night. I think I might have heard the highway calling. James Taylor, of course. 6 o'clock came without even a hint of daylight. The man sat down at his favorite window and stared out into the dark. He thought of North Carolina. He could hear James Taylor singing Carolina in My Mind, the song that he played ritually upon each departure. Like so many Floridians, flatlanders, as some mountain people called them, he grew infatuated with the Blue Ridge Mountains. The southern Appalachians offered Florida people more than just temporary relief from the stifling heat. It gave them a whole different perspective of things. Whether it be North Georgia, East Tennessee, or Western Carolina, the mountains became an idyllic destination for those driving up from the Sunshine State. The family found a place far from the tourist towns and villages. Their cabin was perched upon the side of a mountain in old tobacco country just west of Asheville. The world was closing in now, but the man could still find himself wandering up and down mountain paths, reciting bits and pieces of Thoreau and Muir. It was a chilly morning here in Florida, and he sipped his coffee and leafed through an old logbook he kept of family trips to Carolina. He laughed out loud at the stories and his apparent obsession with quoting Robert Frost. He stopped to read entries made by the grandparents about seeing a turkey or grouse, admiring blooming rhododendron, or picking wild roses. The memories were so thick, he thought he almost had to close the book. He remembered the bonfires. After dinner, he would propose building a fire with Frostian verse. Let's go up and scare ourselves and mix sparks with stars. His brother-in-law would roll his eyes and casually reply, whatever. They would make their way up to the lookout with 3 dogs and 4 or 5 kids right on their heels. He read out loud from his Carolina journal. Sunday, March 11th, 1990. By getting this land, we're reaching back to try to rekindle some things for our children. The century has rolled over us like a steamroller. Hopefully, we can preserve this piece of land and the root holds that go along with it. He never seemed to tire of the view from the mountain, especially at night. Lights of Asheville shone, giving him a unique perspective. You could see things differently from a distance. Things and people both. The old mountains let him have a whole new view of the world. John Muir might have said that. Mountain walks were like trips back in time for the man. When the wind was running right, there were no signs of modernity. No sounds of trucks, airplanes, or tractors would remind him of his time. It was as if he went back for a few moments. It was a timelessness he could only find on his boat, miles and miles offshore. He loved to revisit moments with his lost loved ones, especially his mother-in-law. He missed sitting with her at the kitchen table, sipping coffee, making small talk. They would open up the blinds and watch the morning stream in and burn off the mountain mist while everyone else slept in. She was born in the Keys in 1935, only a week or so before the Labor Day hurricane. She was a conch, cracker, or whatever you wanted to call her. She didn't care. But she was a true Floridian. Actually, my dad had to drive my mom all the way to the hospital in Miami, so we missed the storm. I guess that was a blessing. A sabbatical to the mountains offered a well-deserved reprieve from the oppressive humidity. She had lived her life in a place where, as Shelby Strother once said, the air and the heat were the same thing. How she loved tending to her flowers and grandchildren on that cool mountain. Western Carolina had become her place, and she hoped to retire there, but it was not to be. After she died, he made it a point to greet the mountain sunrise each morning he was there, sitting at the table waiting as the two had done so many times. The man read another entry from his journal. Tuesday, December 30th, 2008. Cool, clear morning. The sunrise was a sight to behold. First, a silhouette of mountains on the horizon, barely visible, then a growing orange glow outlining the far range against the blue sky. The orange sky fades to a pale yellow where it meets the blue. After a while, the dark green of the near valley becomes visible, but there's still no sun, just an orange glow over the far range. Where earlier this was an outline against the whole eastern sky, the glow now becomes more concentrated beyond two prominent peaks. Colors now pastel above the horizon. Soon, the sun shows himself, not subtly, but brilliantly. There's nothing subtle about this. Bright, beautiful, no colors, just white light, a glorious white light. He looked up and saw that it was daylight here in Florida. Time to feed the dogs. The female nudged him as a gentle reminder. He closed the Carolina book and got up out of the chair. He thought again of so many trips to the mountains, of stops in Savannah and arrivals in Asheville. James Taylor again sang in his head. Signs that might be omens say I'm going. I'm gone to Carolina in my mind. Jim McGinnis, fair winds.